They say every town has that one house, abandoned, cursed, or simply wrong. Ours was a crooked Victorian on Elmsworth Lane, its windows forever dark, its door always locked from the inside. No one mowed the lawn, no mail ever came, and yet it wasn't vacant, at least not always, because the Thompsons lived there, a family of 4 who moved in quietly, kept to themselves, and then vanished without a trace. People whispered, speculated, even blamed the father for skipping town. But I knew better. I saw something that night. And now, for the first time, I'm telling the full story of what really happened behind that door. Elmsworth Lane was always a quiet street, tucked behind the main road in our little New Hampshire town. The kind of place where everyone knows your name, and anything out of the ordinary spreads faster than wildfire. So, when the Thompsons moved in during the dead of winter, carrying only a few pieces of furniture and keeping their heads low, it raised eyebrows. There was Brian Thompson, the father, tall and quiet, who worked late nights and rarely spoke. Karen, the mother, always pale and jittery, like a deer waiting for the snap of a twig. Then there were the kids. Lila, 8 with huge curious eyes, and her brother Jonah, maybe 10, who never smiled. For months, their life passed like a faint hum behind closed doors. No one visited. No lights flickered from the windows at night. And every now and then, someone swore they heard strange noises. Metal dragging on wood, a child crying, and once, a scream that was quickly smothered. I lived across the street with my dad, who thought nothing of it. Let people be, he'd say, but I couldn't. I was 17, and the house fascinated me. I'd sit at my window for hours watching for movement. Most nights it was dead silent, but one evening in March something changed. It started with the front porch light, flickering erratically like a dying firefly. Then I saw Lila standing behind the curtain, staring directly at me. Her mouth moved, whispering something I couldn't hear. I leaned closer, squinting, and then the curtain snapped shut. The light went out, and everything was dark again. The next day, the house was empty. Not just quiet, empty. The curtains were drawn back, revealing bare rooms. Their car was gone. No dishes in the sink. No toys in the yard. It was as if the Thompsons had never been there at all. Except, their mail was still in the box. A week's worth of it. Newspapers piled on the porch. By the 3rd day, police were knocking. My dad said he heard one of the officers mutter, "Not again," before heading inside. They searched the place from top to bottom. No blood, no signs of forced entry, nothing stolen. But also no family. The house was abandoned, untouched, like a paused photograph. Couldn't let it go. I started digging. First, I asked around the neighborhood. Nobody knew much. Mrs. Kessler next door claimed she'd seen Karen digging in the backyard late at night, barefoot, wearing a robe. Mr. Alcott swore he heard a low moaning sound coming from the basement window a few nights before they vanished. But there was one detail that kept surfacing. Everyone who mentioned the family always said the same thing. Something wasn't right with them. I broke in 2 nights later. Don't ask me why, I just had to know. The house was still unlocked, and a fine layer of dust covered everything. I walked through the room slowly, flashlights sweeping across blank walls and vacant corners. The living room still had the faint outline of where their couch had sat. A child's drawing was pinned to the refrigerator. Crayon figures under a red sky, with black stickmen looming in the corners. Upstairs, the bedrooms felt even colder. Lila's room had faded unicorn stickers on the wall, her closet door slightly ajar. Inside, I found something that made my skin crawl. Claw marks on the inside of the closet door. Thin, desperate scratches in the wood, like someone had tried to claw their way out. Jonah's room was worse. His mattress had been flipped, the sheets missing, and written on the wall in pencil, over and over, was a single phrase. "It watches from the mirror." I froze. My breath misted in the air. Then I heard it. A soft knock. From the bathroom at the end of the hall. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I should have run. Every instinct screamed to get out. But I walked toward the door, hand shaking, barely able to keep the flashlight steady. The door was slightly open, just enough to see the edge of the bathroom mirror. As I pushed it open, the door creaked, and the room was empty. But something was wrong with the mirror. It was cracked, not shattered, but split clean down the center. And in the split, I saw something impossible. A hallway that didn't exist. A narrow corridor lit by a sickly green light. And at the far end, 4 figures. Standing, motionless, watching me. Then they moved. All at once, they turned and began walking toward the mirror. The crack shimmered like heat off pavement. I stumbled back, falling against the door frame, heart hammering. The flashlight flickered, then died. In the sudden darkness, I felt it. Presence behind me, cold breath on my neck. I bolted. Down the stairs, out the door, across the street without looking. I didn't stop running until I was inside my house, locked in the bathroom, heart racing like a drumbeat in a thunderstorm. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, the Thompson house was sealed off with police tape. Someone must have reported the break-in. But I knew what I saw. That cracked mirror wasn't broken, it was a door. And the Thompsons, they hadn't run away. They were taken. Couldn't prove it. No one would believe me. But something inside that house reached out from somewhere else. Somewhere not meant for us. And if I was right, then the mystery of the vanished family wasn't just a case of disappearance. It was a warning. And the worst part? I don't think they're gone. I think they're still watching. From the other side of the mirror. They say once you look too long into the abyss starts to look back. But no one warned me what happens when the abyss has a face. Not your face, but a copy. One that blinks a second too late. One that smiles when you're not smiling. The Thompson family didn't disappear. They were taken. I saw them. Trapped in a mirror that shouldn't exist. Down a hallway that isn't real. I tried to forget, to move on. But the mirror didn't forget me. Now, my reflection isn't behaving like it used to. And neither am I. For weeks, I tried to convince myself it was a nightmare. That the cold breath on my neck, the cracked mirror showing impossible things, the figures inside. All of it was my imagination running wild. But every time I looked in a mirror after that night, something was off. It started subtle. First, it was a delay. I turned my head quickly and swear my reflection moved just a second behind me. I blinked, and my reflection held its eyes open a fraction too long. Once, I smiled in the bathroom mirror, only to watch myself grin wider, too wide. A cartoonishly stretched expression that vanished the second I flinched. I stopped looking in mirrors altogether. My dad noticed something was wrong. He asked if I was sleeping okay. If something happened that night when the Thompsons disappeared. I lied, said I was just stressed with school. He shrugged it off, but I could see it in his eyes. He knew I was hiding something. Then came the drawings. Slipped under my bedroom door. Childish scribbles in crayon, red skies, black stick figures, jagged houses with mouths. The worst was one with 4 people inside a mirror, screaming, their hands pressed against the glass. Underneath, written in shaky handwriting, "You looked too long." I thought it was a prank. Maybe someone at school found out I snuck into the Thompson house and was messing with me. But then I saw the last drawing. It was a picture of me, not just a random boy who looked like me, but me wearing the exact hoodie I was wearing at that moment, standing at my window looking across the street. The detail was too perfect, too specific. In the drawing, my eyes were completely black. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept my bedroom light on and avoided every reflective surface. But at 3:13 a.m., I woke to a soft scratching sound. It was coming from my closet mirror. I sat up, heart thudding in my chest, and listened. It was faint like nails tapping glass. Then came the whisper, soft like wind in a tunnel. "Let us out." I stared at the mirror, unable to breathe. My reflection wasn't moving. It just stood there, slightly out of sync, watching me. Then it tilted its head. I didn't. It reached up and pressed its hand to the glass. And from the inside, it smiled. I snapped, grabbed a blanket, threw it over the mirror, and ran to my dad's room. I couldn't take it anymore. He didn't believe me, of course. He thought I was having a breakdown. Said he'd call someone, maybe take me to a doctor. I begged him to go to the Thompson house with me, to see the bathroom mirror. He agreed, but only to prove to me that nothing was there. We went the next morning. The police tape was gone. The door was locked, but my dad pried it open with a crowbar, muttering the whole time about how this was illegal and how he'd get fired if anyone found out. He worked for the town utilities, had some pull. The house was cold, empty, dead. We walked through the living room, up the stairs. My dad wasn't convinced. You see? Nothing here. No ghosts, no monsters, no. He stopped at the bathroom door. It was closed. When I'd left it, it was wide open. I reached for the knob. He put a hand on my shoulder. We opened it together. The mirror was gone. In its place was a bare wall, covered in old floral wallpaper. My breath caught. I knew I wasn't crazy. I'd seen it, but the mirror was missing, as if someone or something had taken it away. Dad looked at me, uneasy. Maybe you're just remembering wrong. No, I whispered. It was right here. That's when we heard it. From downstairs, footsteps. Slow, heavy, wet. Dad tensed. Is someone else here? We crept back down, each stairboard groaning under our weight. When we reached the bottom, we saw the back door was open, swinging gently in the wind, and on the kitchen floor, muddy footprints, leading in, but not out. My dad tried to rationalize it. Maybe an animal. Maybe someone else had broken in before us. But I saw something that stopped me cold. The footprints weren't human. Too long, toes too sharp, and embedded within the mud were scratch marks, like claws. We left without another word. That night I dreamed of mirrors, of thousands of them, shattered, cracked, fogged over, and in each one a face looking out. Not all human. Some were blurred, some were melting, some screamed endlessly with mouths too wide. I woke gasping, drenched in sweat, to find the blanket had fallen off my closet mirror. And there, in the reflection, my reflection wasn't me. It stood perfectly still, arms by its side, head tilted slightly forward. Its eyes were black pits, hollow and endless. Its mouth opened slowly, and something crawled out. I blinked, and it was gone. But on the floor was a new drawing. Me, inside the mirror this time. I couldn't stay home anymore. I had to know the truth. I went back to the Thompson house alone. This time I brought tools, a crowbar, a flashlight, and a hammer. I remembered what Mrs. Kessler said. Karen had been digging in the backyard. I headed straight for the garden. The soil was still loose in one spot behind the house, near the dead lilac tree. I dug for over an hour, fingers numb, dirt under my nails. Then I hit something solid. Wood. I cleared the dirt to reveal a trapdoor, half-rotted and hidden beneath an old rug. Pulled it open. A narrow stairwell led down into complete darkness. The air that rushed up smelled like mildew and something else. Something coppery and wrong. I shined my flashlight and stepped down, one creaking stair at a time. The basement wasn't empty. It was a mirror room. Not just one, but dozens. Mirrors of every size and shape, covering every inch of the walls. Most were cracked or broken. All reflected me, but not exactly. In one, I was older. In another, younger. In one, I was missing my face entirely. I walked slowly, heart pounding, until I found the large mirror leaning against the far wall. The crack was still there, splitting it down the center. And inside, I saw the Thompsons. Brian, Karen, Jonah, and Lila. All of them, standing in that strange green hallway, their mouths moving silently, eyes wide with fear. Lila reached out, pressed her hand to the glass. Behind them, something moved, tall, slender, crawling along the ceiling like a spider. Turned slowly toward me. No face, no eyes, just a gaping mouth that began to open, and open, and open. I stumbled back. My flashlight flickered, and in the reflection, I was gone. The mirror doesn't show the real world anymore. It shows what's coming, or what's already here. The Thompsons didn't vanish. They were taken, trapped in whatever dimension that mirror connects to. And now it wants me next, because I looked too long, because I know. And if I can't find a way to break the connection, to destroy whatever lies beyond the glass. I won't be the last. I've seen it in the mirrors. It's coming through. It's said that mirrors reflect more than light. They reflect the soul. But what happens when your soul doesn't come back? I went looking for answers about the Thompson family. I found more than I bargained for. A house that breathes in silence. A cracked mirror that acts as a doorway. A presence waiting on the other side. Now, the mirror wants me. My reflection no longer obeys. The Thompsons are trapped, screaming behind the glass. And I think I know how to free them. But I only get one shot. If I fail, I won't just disappear. I'll become part of it. Just another lost reflection. Forever. I didn't sleep after the basement. How could I? Once you look into a mirror and see a mouth stretching open into darkness. A darkness that reaches back, you don't just crawl into bed and forget. The next morning, I found my dad sitting at the kitchen table, pale and silent. In front of him was a photo, one we never took. It was of the two of us sitting at that very table. Only it wasn't us. His eyes were missing, and my reflection was grinning like a marionette. He slid the photo toward me with a shaking hand. This was on my pillow. Couldn't lie anymore. I told him everything. About the night I saw the Thompsons in the mirror. About the cracked glass. The whispers. The figure crawling along the ceiling. And how I thought the mirror wasn't just a portal, but a prison. One that feeds off those who stare too long. He didn't interrupt. Just listened. And when I was done, he said one thing. Then we have to destroy it. We returned to the Thompson house together. This time with gasoline, crowbars, and every mirror in our own house wrapped in towels and stuffed in trash bags. I wasn't taking any chances. The trapdoor in the backyard was still open. The air beneath it still reeked of rot and rusted iron. We descended into the basement, careful not to look directly into the mirrors. But they moved anyway, subtly, unnaturally. Reflections shifting just a beat too slow. Then we saw it again. The large mirror in the back. The one with the crack. The one where the Thompsons still stood. Unmoving, eyes wide with silent screams. Except now, something was different. There were more people in the hallway. Behind the family. Blurred figures with no faces. Hundreds of them, pressing closer. My dad cursed under his breath. We end this now. I nodded. Took the gas can, unscrewed the cap, and began pouring the liquid across the floor. The mirrors didn't like that. They began to vibrate, humming low, like some distant machinery groaning to life. The cracked mirror started to bleed. A thick black ooze dripped from the corners, trailing down its frame. Then came the voice. Soft, sweet, familiar. Why are you trying to leave us? I turned to the mirror and saw myself inside. Not a reflection. Me, standing beside the Thompsons, smiling. You belong here now, it said. The basement grew colder. Our breath fogged in the air. My dad raised the crowbar, ready to smash the nearest mirror. Crack. One of the smaller mirrors shattered. Then another. But not from us. Something was coming through. The large mirror began to split open, the crack growing wider, pulsing like a heartbeat. A long, pale hand reached out. Fingers too many, joints bending wrong. I screamed for my dad. Smash it! Smash it now! He swung hard at the cracked mirror. Clang. The crowbar bounced off. No damage. Another hand emerged. Then a face. Not human. Eyes like deep wells. A mouth stitched shut, splitting open slowly. I remembered something then. The drawings. The writing in Jonah's room. It watches from the mirror. But Lila's message had been different. Let us out. The mirror couldn't be destroyed, not from the outside. It had to be opened, and I had to go in. Before my dad could stop me, I stepped forward and pressed my hand against the glass. It was cold, so cold it burned. The moment my palm made contact, the mirror rippled like water. And then it pulled me in. Inside was worse than any nightmare. The hallway was narrow, twisted, bathed in that same green light. The walls pulsed like muscle, and the air smelled like mold and electricity. I turned to see the Thompsons huddled in a corner, pale and trembling. Lila was crying. Jonah held her close. Brian stood between them and the darkness behind. Karen stepped forward, eyes wide. "You came." I nodded. "I'm getting you out." She pointed down the hallway. "It's coming." From the far end, the creature moved. Long limbs scraping against the walls. Eyes, hundreds of them, blinking in unison. I ran to the family and held out my hands. "Take them. Now." They grabbed on, and for a moment, I felt the glass again. A resistance, like trying to swim up through syrup. Then I felt a tug. From the other side, my dad. He was pulling. The mirror behind me cracked again, sending vibrations through the hallway. The walls screamed, literally screamed, high-pitched and human. One by one, the Thompsons were pulled out. First Lila, then Jonah, then Karen. Brian hesitated. "You next." But the creature was close. Too close. It lunged. He shoved me back into the mirror. I flew through, screaming. Just as the mirror split open behind me, my dad dragged me to my feet. The Thompsons lay gasping on the floor, alive and sobbing. The mirror behind us cracked one final time, then exploded in a burst of glass and black smoke. The creature never made it through. The police didn't believe our story. Of course they didn't. They said the Thompsons had been in hiding, that trauma had messed with their memories. But I know the truth. So do they. They moved far away after that, changed their names, started over. We burned the Thompson house to the ground, watched it collapse into ash and smoke. But still, sometimes I see something in reflective surfaces. A flicker, a face. Sometimes it's mine, sometimes it's not, because the mirrors remember, and they're always watching, waiting for someone else to look too long.